All right, so we have a couple of other things to talk about here. And if you compare the graphs that I drew here to the picture I drew, you can see that if I take the box and pull it out to x max and let go, then this graph here, the position versus time graph, shows the resulting motion. The object starts at x max, oscillates down to x min, and then comes back, and the process would just repeat if I continued this graph. But a couple of definitions are necessary here. So the first one that I want to do is called period, and this is just the time it takes for one cycle. So the unit for period is seconds, and the symbol for period is oftentimes a capital T. And so if I look up here at my graph, so the object started here at x max, and so that'd be right here, went all the way over here, and then came all the way back. That's called one cycle or one oscillation, so that's from here to about here. And so this right here is one period. So the way to find a period on a position versus time graph is to look at the similar points. So like from here, so we go to here and back to here, right? The same, see the graph coming down and hitting 0, coming down and hitting 0, then that also would be one period. So you can find them in different ways. Or if I had continued the graph a bit, then it'd be from this point to this point, and that would be one period. So the period is the amount of time for one cycle to occur. Another concept is frequency, and the frequency is the number of cycles per second. And the units for that are just cycles per second, or so you could write it like this, cycles per second. Or sometimes instead of writing cycles, we just put a 1 there, so it's 1 over seconds. Or sometimes we use this for the unit. It's hertz, or Hz. And that's the same thing as a 1 over second. So the frequency is also the inverse of the period. So period equals 1 over the frequency. And for example, let's say that I had something that was oscillating back and forth 5 times per second. So 5 cycles per second. Then 1 over 5 is 0.2, and then I would flip this unit, so it'd be 0.2 seconds per cycle, or just 0.2 seconds for the period of oscillation. Another thing that I wanted to mention here was on the position versus time graph, you can see how far the object is oscillating. So from x equals 0 here, all the way up to x max, all the way down to x min. This is often called the amplitude. And this function is making something called a wave. And so we call this the amplitude of the wave. Sometimes we use a capital A to symbolize that. So this would be the amplitude of the wave. And the amplitude is just as big on the bottom as it is on the top.